Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Before we get started, it's been a rough week. That's part of the reason why this video is a bit later than usual. I had a friend that last Sunday I had to take the emergency room. He's fine. He just had some things going on. He's good, but it really kind of threw me for a loop this week. So it's been a bit of a struggle, but as always, we get through it. He, like I said, he's in the hospital. He's in good hands. He's doing better. And so that's good news. But sometimes life takes precedent over this. I love doing these videos. I love helping promoting comics and helping you figure out what you should buy and what should maybe skip. But anyways, so that out of the way, it's actually a pretty good sized week this week for new books. It's a lot of new number ones. So the other thing is coming up this Saturday, which will be tomorrow, is Batman Day at your local comic shop. So there's some special Batman comic books. I know one of them's like a free comic to give away. It's like usually a reprint. There's also there's a couple of Batman books that came out this week to kind of get into that. And I know some stores are often sales on Batman graphic novels and stuff like that. So check with your local comic dealer about what they're going to do for Batman Day this Saturday, which would be tomorrow because I'm recording this on Friday morning. So anyways, make sure you check out your local comic shop. As always, they're the backbone of the industry. So we're going to quickly go through. We're getting, even though it's September, I'm getting in the mood for Halloween. So I decided this week for the stuff behind me to do the Hill House comics, the books. Let me get out of the way so you can see them all. And I'll move this way. Okay. So we have Daphne Byrne by Laura Marks and Kelly Jones. The Lolo Woods by Carmen Maria Mikado and Danny. Then we have Plunge by Joe Hill and Stuart Immonen. Then we have the Dollhouse Family by M.R. Carey and Peter Gross. And then finally, Basket Full of Heads, which is written by Joe Hill and with artwork by Leo Max. They're really good books. I really enjoyed them. Joe Hill obviously is mostly known for creating Lock and Key over at IDW. So he's obviously a big horror fan, and there's still some people that might not know that Joe Hill is actually the son of Stephen King, and that's why he doesn't use the King name, because he wanted to, strike out on his own. And so he went to DC and proposed this line of like horror books, and all of them were quite good. Overall, they all had a different feel and different, obviously had different artists. Daphne Byrne was one of my favorites because of Kelly Jones. I mean, Kelly, as far as I'm concerned, Kelly Jones could draw the phone book and I'd be happy with that. But anyways, those are all available. These are the original hardcovers. There are trade paperbacks. I believe there's actually a box set of the trade paperbacks. You can check that out at your local comic shop, but they all should still be in print. You might still be able to find the hardcovers. I don't think they're technically in print, but I think you could probably still find them. So anyways, that out of the way, let's get the new comics. First up, we have Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, #1, written and drawn by Raphael Grandpa. So this is, once again, it's a Black Label book, so it doesn't take place in continuity. It's kind of it's very weirdly disturbing. It's kind of set, I would say, roughly it's kind of 40-ish era visually in some respects, but it's like an early, Bruce Wayne is kind of early Batman. That's kind of, the premise here. It's kind of noir and it's gritty. And there's this new serial killer that is killing people, and the victims don't seem to have any connection, but it is found out that they're actually connected to Bruce. And he's also so this villain is obsessed with like this kind of 40ish kind of Max Fleischer cartoon that was super violent and weird and crazy and everything. And so it's a very intense book. It's very wild. I mean, there's a lot to take in this first issue. It's a very densely written book. Obviously, Grandpa's art's going to be known. He did the Dark Knight 3, I think, or it was a Dark Knight he did with Frank Miller, one of the follow-up series, and that was kind of where a lot of people first discovered him. I actually really like this. It was a very intense read. And it's just really, but like I said, it is very dark and kind of gloomy, but it's also very fascinating at the same time. And I really love how he kind of draws Batman. It's kind of like I said, it's kind of that original Jerry Robinson, Bob Kane sort of look. Within kind of, but still being modern at the same time. I really like that. And of course, visually, I mean, this book is just a feast for the eyes. It's really amazing, but I don't know it's going to be for everyone, but I actually really enjoyed it. Next up, we have The Cull, number 2, written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Mattia Del Eos. So what it is Cleo has convinced her friends to follow her into this cave because she's looking for her missing brother. And in the first issue, when they go into the cave at the end of the first issue, they kind of end up in this other world, other dimension. We're not quite sure yet. So the second issue really picks up from the first issue. She's obviously lied to her friends, and because originally we're gonna go film this movie in this cave and it's all creepy and stuff, and so then she spills the beans, and so all her friends do decide to stay with her, and they start discovering this new world, and there's really, it's more of what's interesting. What I like what Thompson's doing here is this is a book that kind of washes over you. It's really kind of a slow burn, but I like what she's doing with it and how she's building the characters and then going into this strange world, not having kind of crap happen all at once, just very subtly building things. And there's a nice little twist about this world at the end of the issue, which is really fascinating. But like I said, I really like how she's building out the characters for this story. And Deolius' artwork is this is a gorgeous looking book. I'm really loving it because it's one of those just like slow kind of burn, that washes over you and everything. I really like it. And of course the art is just spectacular. It's really a great looking book. I really like this. But just know that there's, it's very exposition heavy in the senses that she's really building the story here. And that's what I really like about the book. Next up, we have Alligator Loki, number 1, written by Alyssa Wong with artwork by Bob Quinn. So now this was originally a digital first book that they've reprinted. It really reminds me recently of the It's Jeff, the one about the little shark. And what these are silent stories where there's no dialogue, and it's just adventures of Alligator Loki and Thor. And Loki and a lot of the other characters in the Marvel Universe. And of course, he's not necessarily an evil alligator, but I would say he's a mischievous alligator. It's really a fun book. Like I said, if you picked up It's Jeff, and if you didn't, they're doing a third printing. That's how popular that book was. You should really like this book. It's a great all ages book because once again there's no dialogue, but Wong does a great job of telling the story visually, and that's where Quinn comes in with the artwork. He is really he's able to do like kind of the standard superhero looking stuff, but he's also able to do the cartoony stuff with like the sly looks of Loki Gator and stuff. It's really a fun book, and I really enjoyed it. I know that they're doing more, so hopefully they'll do more print versions of those digital only comics. I definitely love this book this week. Next up, we have Creepshow Volume 2, Number 1. With two stories. The first one written by Garth Ennis with artwork by Becky Cloonan. And the second story, Fossil Record, written in pencil by Phil Hester with inks by Eric Gapster. So the first story, each issue has two stories. So the first story, Make Your Choice by Ennis and Clooney, is about a anti-abortionist who basically starts having these nightmares come to life of little abortion babies coming back to haunt him. In the sense of he's having nightmares of the things that he did to, abortion clinics and people and stuff. And it's quite fascinating. It's a very disturbing story. Actually, part of the reason that I don't have a lot of artwork for it is because they only literally made the first page available because a lot of it has disturbing images. I actually found I took a picture of another page that doesn't have it. It was really a good story, and I'm a big fan of Cloonan's artwork. Like I said, it's going to be disturbing for some people, but that's it's Creepshow. It's supposed to be disturbing. The second one is a professor. His mom died, and he's kind of gone off the deep end. That he's trying to find a way to kind of, to see his mother again, and he stumbles across this other professor that has discovered this like creature or whatever that brings things back to life. It's kind of a zombie story. That's the best way to describe it. It's interesting. I think it was a little slow to get going, but once it got going, it was a fun little story. Hester's artwork's really nice. Once again, the thing that I love about this book is because there's two stories in each issue, they can do different things. And the first series, the first volume was really good, and the second does a nice kickoff for it. Next up, we have The Madness number 2, written by J. Michael Straczynski with art by Aiko. So what this is, so you have to kind of remember the first issue, because I kind of struggled a little bit reading this. I'm like, what's going on? Because when you read the first issue, so what it is Sarah was kind of a gun for hire, and she did this big she has powers, but she has multiple powers, but she can only use them one at a time. So there was this Saudi Arabian prince, and he was carrying money with him. She stole the money, and then they basically the governments basically got to they wanted revenge for this, so they killed her family. She survived. Now she's kind of like this evil. I don't want to say evil. She's seeking revenge for those who killed her family. But what the second issue deals with is her as a child, and she has this imaginary friend. And so basically what we kind of putting two to two together is this madness is kind of another being or something that has not necessarily taken control, but has come out of Sarah. So, it's still Sarah, but now there's kind of a dark Sarah, I guess you could say like a dark Phoenix type thing. It was really quite fascinating, especially with the second issue kind of leading up to kind of this darkness or this madness that is somewhat infected Sarah. And of course, really the big win for this book is Aiko's artwork. It's really a great looking book. It's really quite fascinating. Straczynski's done a really nice job of setting things up here. I think it is going to be one of those series that's going to be really good reading in one shot. Like I said, I struggled a little bit, with this monthly, kind of a 30-day gap, but I'm really digging this book, and it's really worth checking out. But it might be one of those, it might be worth it to wait till the trade comes out of it, to collect it all, because it's really a good story. I just don't know that necessarily it's going to work as a monthly. That's not a knock on the book. It's just a knock on, doing a monthly book. Next up, we have Green Lantern number 3. Written by Jeremy Adams with artwork by Zermanico. And then there's the John Stewart backup written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with artwork by Motos. So this issue, now that we've gone through the night terrors that was a 2-month gap, so basically Hal is back on Earth. He has a ring, but it's not his ring, it's a ring. So he's kind of learning to discover how to use this ring. Because I don't know that he has to recharge it. I don't know that that's been said yet. Because once again, now, I haven't read the book for like 2 months, thanks DC. So Sinestro's back and he attacks Ferris Air, basically to get the attention of Hal. So his greatest villain is now in town again. So how's that going to play out? We're not sure. But it's really interesting. I'm digging what Adams is doing here with the story. Hal has always been like my favorite Green Lantern because he was my first. But I do like how he's kind of like, now that the Guardians have been, they're not there anymore, and everybody's all the Green Lanterns are kind of on their own. And Earth is quarantined. There's a lot Adams is building here, and I actually like it. And Zermanico's artwork, it's really a good looking book. The John Stewart backup has been a bit of a struggle because, they're short stories. I mean, they're good, but they're short. And also now they're leading into a book that's coming out this month to continue the story. So it's kind of like, it's hard to make a decision on that. Although I like a lot of the story that Kennedy Johnson is setting up here, how Stewart is kind of trying to figure out, he does he not want to be a Green Lantern, but does he need to be a Green Lantern? And so it's kind of interesting in that respect. But I think it's going to be one of those. It's going to be much better to kind of read it all at once. But I, if you're a fan of Green Lantern, I think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Swan Songs number 3, written by W. Maxwell Prince, with artwork by Felipe Andre. Now, this book came out last week, and I kind of missed it. But I did want to review it this week. So the great thing about Swan Songs is each issue stands on its own. You don't have to read issue 2 to read issue 3. You can just read 3 by itself. And each issue has a different artist. And Felipe Andrew is probably best known for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, and the artwork in this one really shines. It's a post-apocalyptic Adam and Eve story where there's the only 2 people left on the planet theoretically are this man and this woman, and he has so he's been in a bunker, she's been in a bunker, and they've survived. And so they're trying, they get to know each other, and he reads her zombie stories because he has all these zombie books. And so then it cuts to, the scientists and stuff that have been in the bunker in their hazmat suits and everything with seeds and all that kind of stuff. And they come out, and I don't want to give away anymore, but it was really a good story, and Andre's artwork is just gorgeous in this book. I am loving this book. It's from the creator of Ice Cream Man, but I like the fact that he's doing these standalone stories and with different artists, so it kind of gives you like a taste of like an artist. And in the case of Andre, definitely check out. I'm a huge fan of The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, but I cannot recommend this book enough. It is really fabulous and definitely well worth checking out. Next up, we have Daredevil number 1, written by Saladin Ahmed, with artwork by Aaron Cooter. Cooter. So Matt has apparently died. Once again, I'm just reading the pre-thing. I don't know. I hadn't read finished Zdarsky's last run, because I'm going to catch up with it when it comes out, all together. But he's now a priest, and he's running this orphanage. And he doesn't really remember him being Daredevil per se. He knows that he's, obviously knows he's blind, but he kind of understands he has this sense But so we also learn, because Elektra is now kind of Daredevil in a way. I do know that from the Zdarsky run. But she's kind of keeping an eye on Matt, but keeping her distance because she knows that he doesn't remember. So a lot of this first issue is really a setup to what is he going to become Daredevil? Is he just going to be, like the priest who runs the orphanage? That's kind of the setup, and how Elektra and there's obviously some sort of force or something or villain kind of, coming after, him and her. So this issue's a lot of setup. Ahmed does a good job. Once again, there's a lot of exposition here. So, you got to get stuff out of the way, and I get that for a first issue. Cooter's artwork's nice. It's a good, solid artwork. He's not super flashy, but that's what I liked about his art on this book, especially when Elektra's kind of possessed by this demon. The artwork is actually quite nice. It's just kind of like at the beginning, you're kind of like, oh, okay, this is pretty standard. And then the story ramps up, and then Cooter just like, okay, here, watch this. So I definitely like the artwork. It really, he warmed me up perfectly, because it's very mundane. But then the story's mundane in the beginning. It's just Matt hanging out at the orphanage, and that's not visually amazing. But I think it's off to a good start, and I think it's worth checking out for sure. Next up, we have World's Finest Teen Titans #3, written by Mark Waid with artwork by Emanuela Lupacchino. So the basic story of this is, so it's modern Teen Titans, but really the best way to kind of think about it, it's kind of like the team from the 60s in a way. It's very modern. So what this issue is that the Teen Titans go to a Teen Titans convention, and everybody except for Robin, because Robin's in the Batcave because Batman's told him, you need to take charge of the team. You need to not hang out and do stupid stuff like, Speedy and everybody else. Because Speedy's kind of like the influencer, into social media, and he thinks this is a good idea, and it doesn't turn out well. But it's actually a lot of fun. That's what I'm liking about this book, is it's very light and everything. And also there's kind of not a lot of continuity involved. So you can just pick this book up by itself. Wade's having a good time with it. Lupacchino's artwork's nice. I think if you're a Titans fan, especially kind of an old school Titans fan, I think you'll appreciate a lot of it. But even if you're just a regular Titans fan, I think what I like about this book is it kind of just stands on its own, and that's what I'm loving about it. Next up, we have St. John #1, written by Dan Schicade and Brennan Wagner. And with artwork by Dan Schicade. So what this is there's this a character, St. John, that it's set in Portland, and when things happen, not necessarily like alien invasions and stuff, but like if it starts off with the metro transportation where some guy's choking, and then St. John miraculously appears and does the Heimlich maneuver and saves him. What it is Tori Slate is a reporter, and she's kind of heard about this St. John in Portland, so she's come here for a story, and she ultimately, she's able to meet up with him, and she kind of tries to find out, what his spiel is. It was really okay. It wasn't like it was terrible or anything, but it was just like, okay, here's this and that. And it was mildly interesting, but there wasn't really an explanation why he just shows up. It was just like the artwork was okay and everything. And the story was okay, but that was ultimately the problem. It was just okay. It wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination. It just kind of like, okay, that's nice, but not particularly memorable. And unfortunately, with so many comics coming out, you really have the bar has been set, and you really have to bring it. And unfortunately, this book just does not really bring it beyond just being okay. So I'd say definitely skip that one. Next up, we have Adventures Inc. #1, written by Al Ewing, with artwork by Leonard Kirk. So what this is kind of a noirish type, Avengers kind of like 40-ish vibes. And what it is Janet, the Wasp, is called into like the super prison because inmates have been killed by basically an invisible, something, and they're all been shot in the head, and so she's in the morgue. To try to find out, what's going on with this whole thing because the cameras didn't catch anything. It's like an invisible killer, and so the mayor, Luke Cage, convinces her to like, hey, we need somebody to figure out what's going on. New York's not allowed to have any superheroes, and so she kind of goes undercover, like to find out what's going on, out in the outside world, and so when she goes back to try to figure out, they all come awake and chaos ensues in the morgue, and then one of the prisoners is actually it appears to be he appears to be the Vision has taken over him. So that's kind of the basic story. It was okay. It didn't blow me away, and it was fine for what it was. I think it's going to be one of those, the second issue is going to have to kind of really, kind of somewhat ramp it up. I like the concept and everything. I just felt that it kind of a bit coasted along. It's kind of a murder mystery type thing, and that's fine, but Kirk's artwork's nice. It's a good looking book. I just thought it was kind of okay, but it does have, I think the premise is interesting enough to kind of see where it would go, so we'll give it a second issue on that one. Next up we have Sins of the Salton Sea number 4, written by Ed Brisson, with artwork by C.P. Smith. So, this is kind of like that kind of middle, this third and fourth issue are kind of the middle where it's kind of like, the story starts off and we're kind of, going along leading up to the big finale in the next issue. So really what it is so we have Jasper, who has, been trying to save Silver, the son, from his father, who the whole point of it is Silver's supposed to be sacrificed to save the world from coming apart. Basically, that's a simple thing. And so really this issue has to deal with Wyatt, who's Jasper's brother. Wyatt has been told what's going on and why Silver needs to be sacrificed, and Jasper's kind of like, he had lost his family, and that's why he's trying to save Jasper. So it's kind of, like I said, this issue's really good, but it's kind of like the middle part. It's just leading up to like what's going on. And of course, also, Silver has, somewhat, he's run off and he's hanging out with his gang of like teenagers and stuff. And like I said, it's really good. It's just not a standalone, issue. But I really do dig this book. Brisson, once again, he's taken a kind of basic concept and done a really nice job with the story. And Smith's artwork is really nice in the book. I really love it, but I think it's definitely going to be one of those books that's going to be great to read in one shot. So I would say at this point, being the fourth issue, definitely wait for the trade when it comes out. But if you're buying it monthly, this is a really good issue. So definitely check that out if you've been buying the monthly issues. Next up, we have Batman and Robin number 1. Written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Simone DiMeo. So what this is another post Night Terrors, where Bruce and Damian are basically really kind of working together again, and so it's kind of like, so Bruce is trying to like somewhat have Damian have like kind of a somewhat normal, like childhood as best he can, as being Robin and, being, Batman's son. And so they're kind of trying to get to know each other. It's also what Williamson is doing here. He's kind of building, kind of that classic Batman and Robin, but with the twist of, Damian being his son instead of, Dick Grayson being just a kid he found. And also there's a new villain, which we don't know, who is basically hunting them down. So, it's pretty standard comic book thing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're looking for a standard, Batman book, this is, this will fit the bill. I just wasn't overly impressed by it. I'm not saying it's bad. It was like, it was nice. It did its job. It did the, thing. I will say Damia's artwork it's a really gorgeous looking book. But unfortunately, I think it didn't help because I read this after Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, which was such a rich and vibrant and had so much depth, that, reading this, it's nice. It's good for the masses in that respect, and I'm not knocking the book at all. It's enjoyable for what it is, but that's what it is. It's a very standard Batman and Robin book, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. I think it's going to be that's the advantage of having multiple books out, is that you can pick and choose. So I think it's worth checking out if you're looking for a good standard Batman book, and that's what it is. It's not. It's got great artwork. The story's decent, but I don't think it's going to blow anybody away. Next up, we have Quest number 2, written and drawn by Jonathan Luna, with script and story assist from Crystal Wood. Now, this also came out last week, but I did want to point it out. I'm a big fan of Jonathan Luna's stuff, and I think it's a lot of his work is one of those where he's telling a long form story, and it's a lot of times those stories don't necessarily work well on a monthly scale or monthly release schedule. But the basic premise here is that Anna, the princess who was going to be married to Devon, the prince, he was kidnapped by demons, and so she, with her guard, are going to the demon lands to get her husband back, basically get the prince back, and that's the basic premise. So this continues from the first issue, where they're going out and they're heading towards the demon lands, and it's just a slow burn book, and I actually really enjoy it. But I will say that it's one of those books that definitely is a tough monthly book, because it's really meant to be read in one shot. But I do really like it. I love Luna's artwork. It has a really kind of natural feel to it. And once again, it's not going to be for everyone. It's one of those, it's a slow burn, washes over you. And I really liked how he's building the story. But once again, it's not going to be for everybody, but I enjoy it. And I think it's worth checking out if you're looking for something kind of different and also along in the fantasy realm. Next up, we have Superman Lost, number 6, written by Christopher Priest, with artwork by Carlo Paglian. Superman. So what Priest is doing with the story here is, so you have the story of Superman being lost and not being, trying to get back to Earth, and also we have the current, where he's back on Earth and he's really suffering from PTSD, from all, this journey that he was on. So really what this issue is, so he's been on this planet with this Green Lantern she has a ring, but she doesn't kind of know how to be a Green Lantern in some respects. I don't want to say too much, because there's a big twist that kind of happened last issue and leads into this issue. And so the planet that he's on basically doesn't want him. What it is the elites have, suppressed the people, and the planet is basically dying because the sun's going to explode. And the elites have figured out, they have an escape plan, and that, Superman's kind of messing everything up. So in effect, they want to kick him off the planet, because they want to fulfill their escape, but they want Superman to he's kind of riling up the regular people. So this has really been a fascinating book. Obviously the artwork is absolutely Peglian's artwork is absolutely amazing, but the story by Priest really is interesting in the fact that it's a superhero story that deals with social issues, and that's a hard line to kind of draw, but he does it so well here. It's really a wonderful book. I'm so excited for this book every month. And it's just a really solid Superman story that is out of continuity, which is kind of, those are always, some of my favorites. But definitely still worth checking out if you've been keeping up with it. I love this book. You really need to be checking it out. Next up, we have Werewolf by Night, #1 by Derek Landy with artwork by Fran Gallen. So this is really a one shot that has Elsa Bloodstone and Jack Russell, who's the werewolf. And what it is they're both, they're not necessarily working together. They end up together. They know each other. But what it is this woman, or this girl, has been kidnapped in this village by Dr. Doktor. And what he's doing experiments on people. And what it is he's bringing demons to this world to and in using the victims as vessels. And that's the basic story here. It's a pretty simple story. Elsa and Jack have to defeat the bad guy and destroy the demons. It's pretty basic stuff. But what I liked about the book, once again, you're not going to be blown away by it. But I like the fact that that Gallen and let me find out who did the color work on this, because they did a really nice job. I'm trying to find it. Okay. Fran Gallen did the color. And so what it is all the werewolf stuff is pretty much in black and white, and then the Elsa stuff's in color. So even when they're together, he's black and white and she's in color. And it's really fascinating. Visually, it's really amazing in that respect. The story is pretty basic and a lot of fun. And, it's nice, once again, kind of leading up to Halloween. It's a nice little, superheroes horror story. I found it fun, and I think it's worth, kind of checking out in that. It's pretty much a one and done story, which is always, a plus for something. It's not, but definitely it was a lot of fun, and I think it's worth checking out. It's not going to, once again, not going to blow air up your skirt, but it was fun for what it was. And finally this week we have Danger Street #9, written by Tom King with artwork by George Fornes. This has to be the wildest issue of a comic I've ever read. It is literally I think it's all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 panels. Everything's 9 panels of a long drawn out, not in a bad way, of of Manhunter versus Codename Assassin. And what it is basically, so Manhunter is trying to kill the leader of the Green Team, and Codename Assassin has been hired to keep that from happening. So that's the lead up to this. And the whole story is them on a rooftop battling each other, discussing things, and it's I can't even describe it, because it's literally like all dialogue, but this issue blew me away. It was amazing. And it once again, it's literally 20 some pages of people basically talking to each other, and yet King makes it incredibly fascinating. And once again, it's people standing around talking, and then George Fornes comes in and makes it just pop visually, even though they're just kind of standing there talking to each other most of the time. It is really, I love this book. This book is blowing me away, but it's one of those, you have to have been reading the past 8 issues. And I love this book to death. I love the fact that he's taken mostly these characters that were not really well known. I'd say Dr. Fate and the New Gods are probably the biggest names in the first issue special books that came out in the 70s. I also like the fact that some of the alternate covers have been done by some of the people that did artwork. Ramona Frandon did the Metamorpho alternate variant cover. Mike Grell did an alternate Warlord cover. And this issue has Walt Simonson doing a Dr. Fate cover. And the interesting thing about that was that first issue special that Walt Simonson drew back in the 70s is the only time he's ever drawn Dr. Fate. So doing this cover was only the second time he's ever drawn Dr. Fate. He's never drawn, commercially, but he said he's never drawn it since. So he got a request from DC to do a Dr. Fate cover, and he didn't know why. And he posted on Facebook, and myself and other people explained, you're doing it for Danger Street. He didn't know what he was doing it for and why. And so it was really quite fascinating to hear that story. But I'm loving Danger Street. I love this book to death. I can't wait till it gets done and go back and reread it, because a lot of King's works even better a second time. So it's still worth checking out, but I know there's a trade of the first 6 issues that is out or coming out really soon. I think it comes out maybe next week, possibly, but it's very soon. So that'll give you a chance to catch up. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for, putting up with me again this week. Thanks for hanging in there. I know we're a little late this week, but life happens, and you just go roll with the punches. So as always, public service announcement, I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. Annie, Derek, Wendy, it's a great store. He's doing it, and I know other comic shops are doing it. Batman Day is tomorrow, Saturday, the 16th, I think. I'm not sure on the date, but it's September 16th, I believe. It's a really great comic shop. If you're in the Long Beach area, definitely check it out. And as always, support your local comic shop. They're the backbone of the industry. They make everything happen once the comics are actually done by the creative people. They get them to everybody, and definitely support your local comic shop. And as always, we end our show with Be Kind, our little bee. Thank you, Debbie and John, for our little bee mascot, Be Kind mascot. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself. Trust me, like this week's been tough, but, do little things to be kind to yourself, and that will help you get through things. And being kind to other people will not only help you, but help other people. If we are all more kind to ourselves and others, this world would be a better place. I know it sounds preachy, but it really is that simple. So I know things are tough out there. Just take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves, and take care of yourself. It will get better, and it'll all work out. I sometimes doesn't seem like it, but it will. So thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week. As always, please like, subscribe, and share to our socials. We're pretty much on every platform at this point. But thanks for watching. Comments are welcome. I'm trying to work on things behind the scenes, so we can maybe get some more different videos up, but it just takes time, and time is very valuable right now. So again, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. We'll do it again next week. This is Steven from popculturemaven.com signing off. Take care of yourselves, folks. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.